Our gospel lesson this morning is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24, verses 36 through 44. Jesus is speaking. But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. For as the days of Noah were, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing until the flood came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Then two will be in the field. One will be taken, and one will be left. Two women will be grinding meal together. One will be taken, and one will be left. Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know what day our Lord is coming. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known in what part of the night the thief was coming, he would have stayed awake and would not have let his house be broken into. Therefore, you must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour. I don't know if Isaiah is my favorite prophet or just one of my favorite prophets, but I really like the prophet Isaiah. I suppose part of the reason that I do is his writing is included so often in the lectionary. We read it all through the year, not just these few readings that we know so well from Advent. But throughout the year we hear Isaiah's story. The story that he was proclaiming to Judah and Jerusalem. Now, in that he's proclaiming to Judah and Jerusalem, it gives us a clue as to when he was living. He was living at that time right around when Babylon came over and conquered Judah and Jerusalem. Probably a little bit before. And he's trying to warn the people that if they don't change their ways, that things are going to get pretty ugly. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't very much enjoy saying to all of you, if you don't change your ways, it's going to get pretty ugly. And I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear me say, if you don't change your ways, things are going to get pretty ugly. But that was his job, and he did it really well. But he didn't only tell the people that they needed to change or things were going to get bad. He also gave them a vision of what things could be. He laid out before them this vision of this beautiful city, this city that's built on a hill on the highest of mountains. It is such a great place. People are flocking to it. They can't wait to get there. And they can't wait to hear what's going to happen when they get to that shining city on the hill. Bob and Linda just spent some time in New York. They're glad to be back, but they had a great time, and the place was filled with people as the holiday season approaches. And so it's that same kind of picture as the people flock to the shining city. And they're coming by nation. It's not just individuals, they're coming by nation. And they're coming for a purpose. They're coming because someplace deep inside them, they know that there is something there, that they don't have, that they need. If you want me to give you a definition of what it means to bear testimony, to bear witness to a life lived in Jesus Christ, if you want me to tell you how to tell other people about your church and about Jesus and about the place that he plays in your life, the best way that I know you can do it is to live your life in such a way that you are a shining city and people will see what you've got and they'll want it. They'll see what you've got and they'll want a piece of it. So much so that they're going to come running and say, "What have you got? What's going on here? Tell me about it." And the prophet tells us that the word of the Lord comes from Zion, from the holy city, and the teachings of God come from Zion and the holy city, and it will change them. That God's teachings will change them. And if I could tell you one little bit about evangelism, about sharing your faith, and that's to live in such a way that people see a difference in you and they want to ask you what it is. If I can tell you what it is like, what the picture of living in this great shining city, it's a place where they turn weapons of destruction into instruments for growing food. It's a place where they take spears and they pound them into pruning hooks, those hooks that they use to trim the vine plants and to harvest the grapes so they would have grapes and be able to make wine. Their shields being transformed from shields but into instruments for planting seeds so that there will be enough food for everyone. The place of Christ in our life is a place to bring peace within our own hearts. We celebrate Advent as a time of waiting, of preparing, and of doing. We are waiting for that moment when Christ is so alive in our hearts that we are prepared to go out and to live in such a way that our lives are primarily visions of peace. Whatever the circumstance, whether it be peace in our own life, and I don't know about you, but there are times in my life that there isn't very much peace. There are times in my life where there's trouble, where there's struggle, where there's uncertainty, where there's doubts, and where there are fears. But if our faith is at the center of our life, that doesn't become overwhelming. That doesn't keep us from getting up every day and going to work and doing our best. It doesn't keep us from having a smile and being kind. It doesn't keep us from being generous, from seeing that person on the corner that needs a coat and give them our coat and our shirt too. And our shirt too. The life of Christ that we are waiting and preparing to do is a life of peace. The prophet Isaiah tells us in this beautiful picture, of where these weapons that have been used to kill become weapons that are used to sustain life. Shouldn't have been weapons, but instruments to maintain life. Now, that's a challenge for us. I think it's pretty easy for us to get discouraged. We can all look at the world and we can do and stick our head in the sand like an ostrich, or we can just turn around and moan and gripe because this didn't go our way, or that didn't go our way, or we don't like this person, or that person's bringing us down. We can let those things control us so much to the point that we lose all the joy that Elle was talking about. That we lose all the joy in our life. You can't lose joy. You can lose happiness. Happiness is an emotion. Joy is a way of living. Happiness is an emotion that can change to sadness or anger or whatever. But joy is a way of living. And we can live each day in joy if we know what we're here for. If we're confused, it can be hard to live in joy. But if we clearly understand our role, as Jesus would say in the Sermon on the Mount, to be light and to be salt, so that others will walk in the light. The way to do that is to have our lives be so transformed that others want to join us. They don't just want to join us in this church, they want to join us in everything that we're doing, because they can see how being peacemakers makes difference in the world. It is really easy to get discouraged today. It is really easy to be down. It is really easy to complain about this or that or the other. But we come to Advent. We come to Advent, where we're invited to wait. And in our waiting, to prepare for what's next. And then to go out and live, to do. And we do it all with joy. Just one candle illuminating the darkness. Just one life making a difference. Wangari Muto was an African woman raised in Kenya. She studied for a while here in the United States and then went back to Kenya. She had a life that was not easy. They decided that because she was a woman, she shouldn't be able to teach in the university. When her husband got upset, he accused her of adultery, and even though she was innocent, she was thrown into prison for 6 months. Wangari Moody wanted to do one thing and one thing only. She wanted to plant trees. In 1977, she planted 7 trees at her hometown. 7. Not a big deal, 7. In 2002, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for her environmental work, planting trees. In 2011, when she died, more than 4 billion trees had been planted because of the work of this one Kenyan woman who simply wanted to plant 7 trees. I can see her visioning this great city on the hill with trees growing tall on either side of the road and the branches going over to cover us as we walk up in the shade of God to that bright shining light up on the hill where peace comes from and fills the earth. I don't know about you, but I think I can plant 7 trees. Isn't there something that each of us can do to be a peacemaker? It doesn't have to be big. One small thing can make a difference. Advent is a time for us to wait, to prepare, and to do.